Hello and welcome IP friends to #IP series with your favorite podcast host Rita and we're reaching clap for me guys. Um so um this particular episode I really tried out something different. So I will appreciate your feedback on your thoughts on this particular episode. So this episode is specially created for IP owners, either a creative or an innovator who wish to have a good IP strategy on how to protect their creative work and their content within Africa. So why I will be focusing on Africa as a Nigerian, I want to, just shed more light on the gold mines, the treasures, IP treasures that we have in Africa that are yet to be explored. I mean, it's high time we as Africans start taking our intellectual property seriously. We have to be business smart. We have to have good IP strategy, be able to know our market, strategize, especially in light of the African continental free trade agreement. We will have to build relationship. We also have to be very, very strategic and in terms of what we are doing. So today's episode, I have a guest who will be talking to us about an IP system, one of the IP systems in Africa, that I feel and I know most listeners would appreciate, because I always get questions as to how to protect intellectual property internationally. Well, this is sort of like an international flavor, also focusing on Africa by choosing a designated state that you want your creative work and inventions to be protected. So I hope with that brief introduction, we will start to take intellectual property more seriously in Africa. I mean, you hear stories and you read and watch videos of how IP works are stolen from Africa and commercialized in other jurisdiction, how the developed country have built their economy and their country off of the back of African gold mines. So from creative works to um, traditional knowledge, cultural expression, geographical indication, the plants, seed, grains, everything. So if you're a first time listener, I hope you take this particular episode seriously. As a business person as well, you need to take this episode. I mean, all the episodes have been fantastic, but this is focusing on building, this is focusing on, building a good smart IP investment in Africa, having good smart IP investment in Africa, and why African countries need to start taking intellectual property serious. So if you're a first time listener, welcome to #IP series with your favorite podcast host. I mean, what I do here is talk about intellectual property in form of copyright, trademark, patent, industrial design, trade secrets, plant variety, geographical indication. Last thing Nigeria had enacted is plant variety, which was kudos. There are a lot of other developments IP wise taking place in the various African countries as well. For my returning listeners, you guys know how we do it here and how we're holding it down. Fun stories, cases, events, everything you need to know about intellectual property is right here. So I'd like to say thank you. Thank you to my returning listeners for always streaming and playing, liking, sharing, your feedbacks, your comments. I really do appreciate it. And so yeah, I will be going into today's episode. So what inspired this episode? I belong to a group called IP Radio Community, and one of our members introduced herself and mentioned about one of the IP systems in Africa that grant you IP protection in any of the countries that are signatory to um their treaties and the IP system out there. And it just got to be that I've never really focused on, you know, on that particular area. And I reached out to her, and thankfully she was gracious enough to, respond to my request to be a guest on our podcast today. So, I'm not going to keep you guys in suspense anymore. With guest for today. Kindly introduce yourself, Amele. Tell us where you're based, and then we'll just delve into our conversation for today.
Okay. Good evening, Anwiri. My name is Armel Talafuda. I'm an expert in legal aspect of intellectual property and commercialization of IP. I live in Cameroon. I studied IP with with WIPO and OAPI, and I'm deputy director of Cabinet T&F. My goals is to ensure that intellectual property should be accessible to as many individuals as possible, since people are still confused when it comes to talk about intellectual property.
Fantastic. So it's so good to have you here. And I like the fact that your background is based in intellectual property. So now, can you kindly tell us or give us an overview of what OAPI is, what the OAPI IP system is? 'Cause I'm sure a lot of people don't really understand how it works when it comes to IP registration and IP systems in Africa.
Okay. Okay. I just want to underline that my background is I'm an IP strategist, but I'm also a trade negotiator. I studied trade negotiation
Fantastic.
before. Yeah, yeah. That is why I've been specialized on IP management. So I'm an IP
Okay.
strategist because it's true that I work into a law firm during 2 years, almost 2 years, where I was more specialized on litigation. But I went there to
Hmm.
study litigation in order to see if it is possible to implement a complete service offer in terms of intellectual property. So, according to the overview of OAPI, OAPI is the African Intellectual Property Organization, or OAPI for
Okay.
short. Okay, it is an industrial property offices headquartered in Yaoundé, Cameroon. So, I'm not far from OAPI. That oversees intellectual
True.
property for the majority of French-speaking African countries. Cameroon, my
Hmm.
country, is the only bilingual country, I think.
Okay.
So most of them are French speaker, but you also have some countries who speak Portuguese. So
Wow.
OAP work in two languages, two main languages, French and English. But it's true that in practice, okay, all the application can be done in English and French. But if you really want to have an information through OAP, from time to time, it is better for you, especially when it comes to litigation, to explain your defense in French. That's the main point. But for all the rest, OAP employee, they are all bilinguals. African Intellectual
Okay. That's
Property
that's really
Organization, it covers 17 member
yeah.
states, excuse me. 17 member states, as I mentioned, but most of them are from Central and West region. Okay,
Mm.
so that is the global view of OAP. Okay, but if we
Okay.
want to talk about the system, okay, our system
Yeah.
is ruled around Bangui Agreement. Bangui Agreement, it is a uniform legislation, okay, that creates a uniform system of intellectual property rights, right? Protection with this space is into a common administrative procedure. Like if you want to have rights from Ivory Coast, okay, you will apply for Ivory Coast,
Mm-hmm.
but all the process will be done here in Cameroon from OAPI. Okay. At the end, you will have a single
Okay.
title that will be issued to national intellectual property rights in each member state. So the centralization of the procedure makes that with one application, you have right through the 17 countries of OAPI registration. We are going to talk about the taxes, but it's have the same consequence. Like you have to pay only one taxes because some clients come and say that I want to designate Ivory Coast, Cameroon, and Chad or Senegal. This one it is not possible in OAPI area. So each member state is in charge of copyright management, but OAPI generally give into the Bangui Agreement the minimal normative framework of for copyright.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if
Okay.
it is a bit
Okay.
clear for you.
Yeah, it's very, very clear. I mean, I didn't know certain things that you mentioned, but I appreciate you sharing this in-depth overview of the ORP system. So now our next question is going to be, what's the procedure for registering? I know you touched a little bit about it, but then what is the major procedure when it comes to IP registration under the ORP IP system?
Okay, concerning the procedure into the past, OAP was working only to the formal aspect of any application. But with the new laws, OAP will try to understand if your application corresponds to the formal aspect and the substance aspect of the said application, especially for trademark, industrial design, trade name, and geographical indication, because up to now, they have already ratified the laws for patent, but they have not yet put it on application.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the costs neck registration using OAP, and what are the benefits of using OAP?
Okay, according to the course, since it's just a global view, we are not going to talk about a specific IP right. Okay, you have to know
Okay.
that for one application, you just have one taxes. Means if it is a trademark, a patent, you have one tax for the 70 countries of OAPI space. But with the new laws, okay, we have a small reduction of taxes for
Yeah.
trademark. That goes from $780 to $600,019.5. So now it is possible to register your trademark and designate maybe just
Wow.
one classes or two classes or three classes. But into the past, it was a formula where you were obliged to apply, not really obliged, but the cost was attached to three classes. Neither you want to apply for one classes or
Hmm.
two, you have to pay the same price. But now you have to pay the cost only for one class. And if you want to add the class, you have to add supplement taxes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um. So I think the next question already you've partially answered it. I was going to ask you what are the types of IP that can be registered under the ORP system. So you mentioned patents, you've mentioned trademark, you've also
Trademark,
mentioned copyright. But yeah, I haven't heard you
utility,
mention
utility
yeah.
models, industrial design,
Okay.
trade name. Copyright, it is just a framework, okay, as a guideline, but we don't
Okay.
register it in front of OAP. We have a specific
Okay.
structure for it, okay? So you just have
Okay.
the guideline and you use it to know that that is what OAP advise for it,
Hmm.
okay? But if you really want to protect your copyright, you have to go to the structure that has to handle it.
Okay. Are there any challenges in using the OAP IP system?
Of course, because With the new laws, OAPI is in charge of, they have to contribute to the promotion of economic development through
Mm.
innovation and creativity, and also protection of geographical indication. I think that the main challenge will really to make that people should understand that IP is good, IP is benefit, IP is everywhere. Okay, so this
Yeah.
one, it is the most challenging part for the mission.
Fantastic. Are there efforts? Do you think there are efforts to make Africa have like a one single platform for IP registration? So we know Africa has about 54 countries. So do you think in the nearest future that we will have an IP system where if you do a registration in one country, say Cameroon or Nigeria, you're protected in the remainder countries in Africa? So far as you indicate that those are the countries you would want to protect your IP, whether it's a French speaking country or an English speaking country or a Portuguese speaking country.
Yeah. In fact, you know that in January 2016, a principle
Mm-hmm.
of creation of PIPO has been adopted by the African Union. And since these things are a matter of, I can say, the benefits of
Mm-hmm.
different region, because I heard that OAPI, Aripo, some of these regional system they were not really comfortable with. So I don't really know. I think that it can be benefit somehow, but unbenefit somehow, because now I myself am able to work on the whole OAPI region. So I'm just asking myself if we have a common market for intellectual property, how it's going to work. So I would like to have a serious discussion and more information about it. It is an interesting theme.
Fantastic. So, what are the criteria basically for registering an IP under the OAPI IP system?
Oh, to find an IP in OAP system, the applicant must provide different elements. The first is to file up application form. This one is a bit challenging because now we are entering to the online application, and even us as a legal advisor of OAPI state members, we are still learning, you see, because
Yeah.
you have to know how to use this new file application. And also those who are not really comfortable with intellectual property matters, from time to time they can forget an important information. You also have to bring a proof of payment. This one is really important. You don't have to forget to pay the OAPI taxes. But it's true that with the new law, the applicant has the advantage that OAPI gives you 1 month to pay the
Mm.
taxes. Into the past, when you apply, you have to pay directly. If not, they don't take care, they don't manage your application. But now you can apply today and have till the 10th of February to pay the taxes. After that, you have to bring a priority document if applicable, and also an on-site power of attorney for foreigners applicants. Foreigners applicants they have to go through OAPI website to look for the legal attorney of OAPI, because from times to times they can try to do application with those who are not legal practitioner, and they have different issue at the end. So
Mm.
that these are the criteria for registering with OAP.
Okay. So, 2020 was the year of the lockdown, trying to, flatten the curve. Did the pandemic and the lockdown affect IP registration using the ORP system? Is there statistics to show if we had fewer registrations or higher registrations pre-COVID and post-COVID or within the COVID period?
Yeah, it's true. It's true that on our side we don't have statistic, But during our meeting with them, they underlined it because during the pandemic period, as you know, OAPI is a global organization. So as most of the company over the world, um, the COVID-19 has been reduced the activity of OAPI. Okay, in terms
Yeah.
of application, I mean, it's true that they took some disposals that help OAPI to improve the way that people apply for registration. So somehow, the pandemic comes with something that is positive for them because we were not having an online system of registration. It's true that they have not yet done, but they have almost finished. And they really started to put themselves under pressure when COVID-19 comes. So the statistic was not really interesting. I'm sure that, but at the end, we are benefit from this one. And you also know that less usage of paper is good even for our community.
To wrap up now, do can we get like a list of liaison offices in Africa that we can file OAPI registration? Is there a directory for legal attorneys and qualified to do IP registration within the region?
Okay. As I learned and as observed when I went through the different countries of OAP space, it
Mm,
is in each country's members, you have an attached ministry or an attached department of the Ministry of Industry that works with OAP. Because you know that OAP cannot handle everything. OAP is mostly for registration, but there are many other projects that are managed by this other liaison office. Okay, so in each country, if you are looking for it, you just have to go to the Ministry of Industry, and they are the one who will let you know where you have to go. Even here in Cameroon, we have it.
mm,
Uh-huh.
that's great. So, in closing, do you have any information you want to share to us about what you do, OAPI, trends, and just anything you want to share with us, and how we can also reach you in case we have questions in future.
Okay, as on the line, official list of OAPI representative are into the official website of OAPI, www.oapi.int. Okay, and people have to know that starting on this new year, from the 3rd of January, there are new laws. Since intellectual property is mostly focused on the trademark, patent, and copyright, people have to know that there are some change of on the trademark and copyright that has been put in application since a few periods. So they have to take attach with the advisor in order to update the knowledge. And our firm has the specificity that we are assisting people from the beginning of their own project, even writing the agreement, the policy into the company, registration, litigation, enforcement, and so on. So those who are interested to develop the company through intellectual property in the French speaking countries, they just have to reach us at www.cabinetTNF.com, www.cabinet/tf.com. So I don't know if there is a supplement question, but I myself am very interested with the Nigerian market. I've already started working with some companies there. I know that there are
Okay.
many people who are also interested in Cameroon region or others region. So they don't have to hesitate. They have to know that if they come, they have people who can help them. Our CAO worked at OAPI during more than 40 years. So we really have experience to organize the project and also advise and assist them in the whole sector of intellectual property.
Fantastic. So you did mention the had new laws that came out yesterday. Yesterday being 10th of January. Can you just tell us these laws so we can check it out by ourselves, and then we'll wrap up from there?
Yeah, the new laws, I will just underline the main point. As I told you now, when
Yeah.
someone apply, okay, when you apply for a registration, let's say that you apply today on the 11th, OAPI will take something like almost 2 months. After this period, OAPI will publish, okay, your application, because into the past it was not possible. Our user was having this problem that at the end of the publication of the certificate, people was able to come and oppose to the registration of the trademark. Since you already have certificate, people were just confused. And I think that OAP have understood that this approach, it was too limited. So now when you put the application, after 2 months, OAPI publish the state application so that any person who think that it is possible to oppose to the registration or claim the ownership of the registration, they can do it, but they just have 3 months. Into the past, they were having 6 months after the publication, but now they have 3 months starting to the publication of the application. Okay, so
Hmm.
when the 3 months are already passed, OAPI, they are going to finish the application, publish it, and at this stage, it is not possible, no more possible to claim the ownership or something else. You just have to go through the court, maybe to implement another action. Okay, according to the cost,
Yeah.
as I told you, we have different costs. So those who want to apply only for one taxes of product or services, they have the advantage that the cost is less, because into the past you were paying to three classes, but the application was only for one classes. So now you really pay for what you want. Okay, and
Okay.
another thing is that into the past it was not possible to do in one application of trademark. Okay, to do in one application a claim of services and product through one application. But now with one application, you can ask to register to class 2 while asking to register to class 44 into the same time. Into the past, you were obliged to do two different applications and you have to pay two taxes, you see. So
Yeah.
the new system is really advantageable, especially on trademark. We have many changes on trademark. We also have new type of trademark that can be registered in front of OAP, because into the past we were having only the visible trademark and the complex trademark, but now you can have series of sign, audiovisual sign, audible sign, figurative signs, and so on. So the new laws is really interesting for those who want to be distinctive into the market, to develop themselves differently, but they just have to be aware of that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Amela. I appreciate your time. Thank you for honoring us and being our guest on this particular episode. We hope you had a fantastic time as well.
I really appreciate. Thank you too. Have a nice
Thank,
day.
have a nice evening. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
And so we've come to the end of today's episode. I hope you guys had an interesting time. I hope you also learned something. I'm hoping as well that Africans and non-Africans take advantage of the OAPI IP system I mean, like I've always said, that IP is territorial in nature. You only get to enjoy legal backing and protection in the territory or jurisdiction or country where you apply to register and protect your intellectual property. So, see you in the next episode, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, favorite, share, like, and yeah, have a fantastic day.